Hello, JR. Hello, Raul.
Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning, Cal.
We are only waiting for Yvette to join and then we can begin the meeting. Frank will be joining the meeting at 10:15.
Okay. Linda, are there any preambles? Oh, there's Yvette. Okay.
Oh,
And Frank.
Frank's actually joining early. I don't have any preambles other than after our open session, we will log off of this as we usually do, and then we go on to the second link
Got it.
for the closed session.
I'll call us to order. And Linda, do we have any public?
We do not have any public comments for items that are not on the agenda.
All right, and what is on the agenda for the open session?
The item that we do have is our investment strategy update that would be presented by Raul Ortega, our finance director. And with that, I'll hand this over to Raul.
Before we start with item 4, what about item 3, Linda?
My apologies, Sarita. For item 3, it is the review of our meeting notes from our last August 26th executive committee meeting. If there aren't any additions or revisions, then we can note this as receipt and filed.
Does anybody want to make any changes? Okay, we'll receive and file.
Great, thank you. And confirming that there are no public comments on this item as well. And with that, I'll hand this over to Raul.
Thank you, Linda, and good morning, everyone. And thank you for having me this morning, Commissioner Chair Abdo. So I'm Raul Ortega, and I'm the Director of Finance. And I just want to give you a little bit of background before I dive into the memo that we provided you on this agenda. This calendar year, this organization has really looked at what we call internally the fiscal imperative. And when we talk about the fiscal imperative, it's really about the conversation on how we invest our resources strategically to maximize impact. In addition, there's also opportunities about how we look at our resources, and that is also how do we maximize in our investment strategy. So in May and June, as we provided you an update to the organization's budget for fiscal year 22-23 and our long-term financial plan, we started to elevate how we internally within the organization are looking at our alternative options to how we invest our existing fund balance. So we're looking at different investment strategy to help maximize our return in our investment. So before I get into a specific investment portfolio, I think it's fair to explain to you how our investment strategy is broken down. It's broken down in two areas. There is what we call the general pool, which the best way to describe the general pool is just think about as keeping our fund balance within a very low interest bearing savings account. And then there's a second option, which is going into a specific investment strategy. And the difference between the two is the general pool is really managed and monitored by the county treasurer's office. The second, when we speak to a specific investment strategy, we are working in partnership with the Treasurer's Office, and we are specifically targeting specific investments to maximize our yield, to get a higher yield in our investment. And both investment strategies, the general pool and the specific investment strategy, they all fall within the California Government Code 5360. So there are, because we are a public entity and these are taxpayer dollars, there are restrictions to how we can invest, just like there's restrictions for how the county could invest in the general pool. So even though we are specifically targeting under a specific investment pool, the same risk factors are the same, and that we're limited to where we can invest. They have to be high secured investment strategies, and they all fall within both the Government Code 5360, our internal code, and the County Treasurer's code. So, so just to give you a little flavor for some of the regulations that we're working with and the difference between the general pool and the specific specific investment strategy. So moving from there, what staff did beginning in March, as we started talking about, what is the best strategy for our organization to maximize and get a higher yield in our investment, we started engaging with the County Treasurer's Office again. And after staff did much of the analysis, we did make a recommendation to our executive director to transfer $135 million from our regular savings account to a specific investment portfolio. And right now, the way that the market is looking, we can invest, our recommendation is a 3-year investment strategy at 3.8%. And that is an increase from what we can currently get from the County Treasurer's Office. The current County Treasurer's general pool rate of return is 1.39%. So you see that we're getting an additional 2.41% return on moving and switching into that strategy. So let me just share with you a little bit about the analysis we did internally in order for us to come to this recommendation that we made to our executive director. There are some internal policies that we need to adhere to. The first one is we have an existing reserve policy, which is 50% of our total program and operating budget. We also have adopted through our strategic plan specific spending limits. So we wanted to make sure that we're adhering and staying fidelity to our spending limits through 27, 28. And the reason why those two things are important to consider when we're looking at our investment strategy is because we, within finance, we need to think of our cash flow. We need to think about how our resources, our revenue is coming in throughout those 3 years. And we also need to know where our expenditures are and how those expenditures are flowing out within the organization. And then we need to adhere again to our reserve policy. So those are the two main critical components of our analysis when we considered how we came up with the $135 million. It's really driven by cash flow purposes. And then the third thing, which is extremely important, is the current work that's currently going underway within the organization. And these are items that we have been hearing throughout many of our commission meetings and our PPC, and that is our strategic plan review and refinement effort. Because we know that we will not complete our strategic plan review and refinement efforts, we felt that we need to consider that process, because that process is going to yield how we're going to look at our work and how we focus our work, which would definitely have a direct correlation to our future spending and how we look at our spending in the future. So when we considered those three factors, we knew that we wanted to keep it into a short-term investment strategy. So that's why we went with the recommendation of a 3-year strategy instead of a 5-year strategy. At this time, we are fortunate that a 3-year strategy is yielding a higher return on investment than a 5-year. But again, that could fluctuate on a daily basis depending on the market. So when we move forward and we reach out to the treasurer's office, we may see an opportunity where a 3-year strategy may yield a lower rate than a 5-year. But, unfortunately, that's part of the risk. When you're looking at 3-year and 5-year strategy and how the market fluctuates, the rate of return is going to fluctuate. So with that being said, we did land on a recommendation that we provided a memo to our executive director, and our executive director has given her blessing to move forward. And that's why we're providing you this item as an information, just to keep you abreast of our investment strategy and how we're moving forward and looking at our overall fiscal imperative within the organization. So once we're done here, we will start moving forward and connecting with the county treasurer's office to move forward with moving into a 3-year investment strategy. And in addition, we're going to also be looking through the strategy refinement process, our investment strategy and how we look at our investment strategy, short-term, mid-term, and long-term, and also looking at some of our restrictions that we currently have and evaluating our reserve policy and seeing if having a reserve policy at 50% at this time is the right level of reserve compared to a 25% that we've had in the past. Again, the market does fluctuate, so you always need to be evaluating all of your policies and seeing how best to look at your policies to best support the organization and where we want to move forward with our investment strategy. So with that, I yield it back to you, Commissioner Abdo, for any questions.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? I don't see any. Thank you, Raul. Now we kind of know what's going to happen if we could predict the stock market.
It's definitely touch and go. The market is fluctuating on a daily basis. So whenever we can maximize, we should definitely jump on it. So I appreciate the support that we're getting within the organization to look at our investment strategy and how we can maximize it.
Thank you. Okay, do we need to see if the public has any comments on this?
Yes, and I'm confirming on my end, there are no public comments for this item.
Okay, do we have anything left for the open session?
We do not. We can all log off and get onto the closed session link.
Okay, everybody, see you in a minute.